No way. They did it. They finally did it. Boxes load up faster now? 10 out of 10 DLC. It only took them, hold on, let me check. 10 months? Let's freaking go. Surely if the boxes in the PC load up faster, then they can fix the rest of the game, right? Oh. It amazes me in how much of a nuisance the frame rate is in this game. Why is it that when I look at something specific on the map while exploring, the game freaks out? Get it? Game freaks out. Sorry, I'll walk myself out. Sorry about that. Aside from that, I'm here to discuss the DLC, give my thoughts and more insight to what we got, including the story, the Pokemon returning, the new Pokemon showcase, the future of competitive, the characters introduced, and if it was good overall in comparison to the Isle of Armor that we got in Sword and Shield. Let's take a look. Pokemon games now relying on DLC to continue to provide updates for the current generation is now becoming a practice that can be considered from both a good and bad perspective. We've talked about the production capacities numerous times before with Game Freak, but nonetheless, I can always appreciate new content for Pokemon. Though I understand if you're on the fence of not being a fan of having DLC that almost guarantees a not so great base game, but that is not the focus of this video. With our first look at the Teal Mask, I can safely say that despite it being short compared to the Isle of Armor, I really felt like they upped their game and what they delivered. The new Pokemon, new characters, and of course the new map taking place outside of Paldea. In terms of the exploration, the Isle of Armor easily surpasses this. Now don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed the different environments and thought the scenery for all the new locations looked great, but nothing convinced me otherwise that made me feel like Katakama was very squished together. Let's take a look at the map. There's a lot of space that wasn't used that I felt like could have been utilized to spread out the different locations. Traveling from objective point A to B, depending on the storyline progress you're making, didn't really feel like I was making an effort to make my way there. You can easily speedrun to the different areas and record their fly spot locations to make it even more easier to navigate around the map to complete the story objectives. With that said, it would take you around what, 3.5 to 4 hours max to complete it if you're not catching all these Pokemon that are also coming back with the DLC. Speaking of story objectives, it easily outclasses the Kung Fu storyline, only because that was the only focus of that story to begin with. The Teal Mask introduced 4 new Pokemon that not only gave us a very insightful lore and details, but they became so prominent to the story that even the new characters involved really got themselves to the point where you really felt like they were traveling with you. Carmen and Kieran weren't too bad of characters themselves, even though I felt like Carmen was a knockoff version of Nimona at times. Kieran easily surpasses her when it comes to character development, and they really did this part well. There was a small detail that I noticed, and that's when Kieran punched the wall out of frustration, and you can see a bit of the purple mist go onto his hand. A theory of mine is that he has possession of some hidden power from those legendaries that awoken, but it's highly unlikely. I only say this because of his crave for power and to get stronger when you reach the end of the DLC, but it was just something to think about. Oh, and I don't trust this dude with my life at all. The story with Ogerpon was something I found to be an enjoyable experience. Learning Ogerpon's past and how the village treated the Pokemon really brought some lessons to be learned from, such as being able to accept people and to know their story before making judgmental assumptions, which many of us can be reminded of. The Loyal 3 were framed to be the good guys, until we come to learn that they were the bad guys all along, which twisted the views of the village people on who to praise. All of this leading up to grabbing the stolen masks and experiencing one of the coolest fights for a Pokemon ever to be introduced in the series. Getting to battle all the different forms and seeing that in action was really sick. More on the forms and what Ogerpon is all about later on when we talk about some of the competitive aspects that were brought to us. There was a quest that involved a new character introduced named Perrin, a photographer with the goal of taking the best photographs in the entire world. She was definitely the most relatable character in the entirety of this game. Essentially, when you have a passion for something and it doesn't go your way, it's not the end of the world. You take a look at things from a different perspective and learn to accept that things will not always go your way, especially the way that you want them to be, and you set new goals for yourself without having to establish that mental mindset of what you can expect. We learned this from her after encountering what is one of the coolest looking Pokemon introduced in this DLC, and that being Blood Moon Ursaluna. She wanted to capture the best photos of this Pokemon after hearing rumors of its whereabouts so she can shock the world. But the photos ended up being blurry, which goes back to what was discussed earlier about the relatable issue at hand. There were bits of pieces for Legends Arceus fans. As you navigate through the forest, you hear a tad bit of Eterna Forest theme, at least that's what I heard, and when battling/catching the Ursaluna, it plays the battle theme and victory theme when you successfully capture the Pokemon, which I thought was a pleasant treat for people that played that game. It's such an excellent game. I love that game. Blood Moon Ursaluna is insane. So let's talk about the competitive side of this DLC and see the new gimmicks some of these Pokemon got. Ogerpon has access to 4 specific Terra types, being Grass, Fire, Water, and Rock, while also being accompanied by 4 different forms that each have a unique ability and benefits to a move called Ivy Cudgel. The Grass form has Defiant, and when you Terra, it allows you to get a +1 speed on switch-ins, exactly to how Zacian gets a +1 attack boost when it gets sent out in Gen 8. The Grass form allows you to run any item, but you're locked to the Grass Terra typing. The other 3 forms have signature held items for you to change your Ogerpon's Terra typing. These are the masks that you help collect during the story. To make up for the lack of held item choices for the other 3 forms, the attacks have a 1.2 times boost, allowing it to hit harder. The Fire form has Mold Breaker, and if you Terra, you get a +1 attack boost. The Water form has Water Absorb, and if you Terra, you get a +1 special defense boost. The Rock form has Sturdy, and if you Terra, you get a +1 defense boost. All of these Ogerpons have access to the same moves, and a move unique to it that I mentioned before called Ivy Cudgel, which changes its type depending on the form you take and has a base power of 100. This legendary is super unique in how you want to run it. Heatran a problem for you? Keep your Mold Breaker and hit it with an Ivy Cudgel, and then Terra to get a +1 attack boost to use a move like Horn Leech to recover HP, or to use Superpower. I can see the Grass and Fire forms being used the most out of all of them, given the immense pressure that they can provide. As the early metagame plays out, we will see how each of these forms develop their own niches. Blood Moon Ursaluna is a special attacking version of regular Ursaluna. Its ability allows it to use normal and fighting moves on ghost types while also ignoring evasion and accuracy drops. A 301 built-in ability, making it way better than Scrappy. Players would want to opt to run this in Trick Room, but there's a problem. Regular Ursaluna still underspeeds Blood Moon Ursaluna. This matters a lot, especially when Trick Room is in question. When we take a look at the offensive pressure both of these Pokemon provide, Ursaluna has access to a Guts boosted Facade with Stab that can easily deal a huge amount of damage. Blood Moon is a base 140 normal type attack that is a nuke with the cost of not being able to use it again the next turn. This is still a crazy attack that will be shredding through teams, especially if you opt to run moves like Hyper Voice with a Throat Spray to get a +1 special attack boost. But the difference in setup to get that power boost is definitely noticeable and will probably not be a consistent thing to pull off compared to Ursaluna. There are still advantages and disadvantages to Blood Moon Ursaluna, but it's definitely going to have to be played much differently, as it is a slow and steady type of Pokemon to either finish off targets or to start matches dishing out damage for the other team members to clean up. A special attacking Terra Blast is a normal type move which is Stab and has its advantage to use given what Terra type you have as well, and having access to Calm Mind is also another way to set up, but you run the risk of taking a huge load from moves like Close Combat. There are definitely ways to make this powerful Pokemon work, but the notable thing to note is how to prepare for it to be successful, especially for the VGC scene. Okidoki, Monkidori, and Pheasant Deputy all share a common ability of Toxic Chain that has a 30% chance of badly poisoning targets off any move that they use as long as it lands. Pheasant Deputy is a specialty defensive Pokemon that doesn't have much going on for it on offense. It's the weakest of the 3, even with its hidden ability Technician, which barely has any reliable moves for it to make use out of. Using Acrobatics and Hex are moves I don't see people using to make this ability work, especially when its offensive pressure is just weak. Monkidori is a special attacker with an impressive speed stat of 106 and has a special attack stat of 130. Using moves like Sludge Bomb and combining it with Toxic Chain can help fish out for poison status. It's got a lot of nice coverage moves like Grass Knot, Focus Blast, and Shadow Ball. Its hidden ability Frisk allows you to see what items your opponent will use, but Toxic Chain has a strong case to be used over Frisk. Okidoki is a physical attacker with a decent enough bulk that has an interesting use with its hidden ability called Guard Dog. If you get intimidated, you get a +1 attack boost, and you cannot be forced to switch out. This saves you an item slot like Clear Amulet so you can maximize your damage output without the need of fearing to be intimidated to hinder you. It has an incredible amount of coverage moves that will also allow you to fill in for moves that your team needs assistance with for it to take care of. Sinistcha is another new Pokemon introduced that has a unique move pool and ability. Its ability Hospitality allows you to heal 1/4 of your partner's health. It also has a new move called Machagacha that is essentially a spread move Giga Drain, allowing you to heal 50% of the damage while also giving a 20% chance to burn the targets. This move has an accuracy of 90%, but it is a high risk, high reward move if you can pull it off. This Pokemon also has access to Scald. Scald is not a returning move, but is only given to a select few of Pokemon, no longer making Volcanion the signature user of this move. Pokemon like Milotic got this move back, making Milotic a force to be reckoned with, especially with another addition of a move returning being Toxic. Scald is an excellent move for water types that also allows to fish for a 30% chance to burn. Rillaboom now has Grassy Glide back, but has been nerfed to a base power of 55, but this move is still really good for this Pokemon. Having a priority move that's boosted in grassy terrain is nothing to laugh at. Returning Pokemon like Empoleon had its hidden ability changed from Defiant to Competitive, allowing it to get +2 special attack if it gets a stat lowered. However, it doesn't get access to Scald, which creates a new debate if Milotic is better than Empoleon because of this. Infernape has access to Switcheroo and Knockoff, allowing it to hit ghost types with Flash Fire like Chandelure, and can now mess up walls like Toxapex. Torterra finally has access to Shell Smash and moves like Headlong Rush, allowing it to be a super offensive threat while being able to dish out bigger damage than before, especially when you take into consideration that its only speed boosting move it had was Rock Polish. This video will turn into a 1-hour video if I keep going, but these are some of the highlights of what came back and what is new that came along with the Teal Mask DLC. There are many more Pokemon that have benefited greatly, but we will not have enough time to cover all of that in this video. Overall, the Teal Mask provided a positive outcome not just with the story, but to the competitive scene too, which allows a whole new metagame to develop, and we have yet to see what the second DLC has in store for us. Let me know what you guys think of the DLC in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear about them, and thanks for checking out today's video. Subscribe to stay up to date with these videos, and until then guys, I will catch you all in the next one. Peace out.